An update on the dash side of the conversion. I have to retain this piece of the dash because the VIN is here. So all I'm going to use of it is basically just this top piece. I want to do a flat dash with somewhere around that depth. And this is the aluminum frame that is stock on the Jeeps. These may be out too far, so I mean you may need to remove them, but I also could use that as the level and have my gauge cluster or individual gauges here. I want to do it so that I basically have a large speedometer and a large tach here, and then in the center console here, this column is going to be switches and gauges, just basic plain 2-inch gauges and toggle switches. And then I'll extend the dash down and it'll make form a center console, and then the refrigerator will be here. So there's holes for the air venting. I did save the vents, the defrost side of the vents, so I might actually use the plastic. I don't know yet. For my idea for collapsible seat rails, I have this idea of using this 1-inch square tubing and these brackets, which actually come off of a camping cot. This 1-inch square tubing and the brackets will allow me to have a seat system that will be collapsed or can extend up and back. So I will show you what it will look like collapsed. So collapsed, it would essentially be like this, right? In the forward position, the seat would be here. This would be mounted to the floor. Of course, this is only one of the 2 rails per seat. And then you would pivot the seat up in the brackets, and it would end up in this position here. So the seats would move backwards whatever the length I move the seats up. So what that would do, these are of course the seats, what that would do is it would allow me to mount my seats here, and then have them pivot up and back so that they would be higher than the level of the camper. This is just a piece of wood sitting here. The camper box hasn't been built. Camper box would actually be about this high, but it would allow me to pivot up and back, and the seats would actually be here, and then I could swivel them. So I found some 1,000-pound capacity Lazy Susan pivots, and I think I'll use that and the square tubing to build that collapsible seat system. That'll allow me to unlatch the seat, pivot up, and then rotate so that I can face backwards into the cab. Backwards into the camper area. I received my adapter plate. So this is the HPA adapter plate made for the pump deuce and the common rail engines. Quick test fit of the HPA Motorsports adapter that I bought to the engine. The adapter isn't drilled for holes from the oil pan. I think that's because various TDI engines have different oil pan bolts. So I will either leave it alone and not drill them and not anchor the oil pan to the adapter, which is probably what I will do, or I might mark them and drill them and tap them. I'll decide later. It appears to fit. The important bolts line up. So I haven't checked it against the transmission bell housing yet, just because I have it taken apart on the bench there. But once I'm done, I'll do that. The starter interferes with part of the bell housing, and it needs to be cut to fit, but I'll do that later. I just wanted to see what it looked like bolted up.
I got the tool to remove the rear housing from the transmission, although I haven't used it yet. So I contacted Matt Whitbread when I was having difficulty trying to replace this, and he explained that he actually used a piece of bar stock and was able to sort of make his own tool, but I didn't actually talk to him until after I'd already ordered the tool, so I'll just use the tool. It's useful to have anyway. I got my new input shaft for the transmission. Still waiting on the bearings kit, but that should be here pretty soon.